Hi, everybody. Welcome to class this week. This is the second class in a little short course that I just sort of put together based on the Asian Classics Institute practice number 3 on Tong Len, or taking and giving. It's not just that, I'm adding a bunch of other stuff in as well, but I'm just saying some of my notes here that I have are from that course. So it's a short course, about 3 classes or so, again, on the practice, well-known practice of Tong Len, or taking and giving. That's, of course, been very popular the last number of years as a form of healing meditation, or meditation on loving kindness and compassion. So I'll just continue, and again, we'll do some practice at the end here. But for me, I just wanted to sort of give more of sort of a very sort of improvisational commentary on some of the issues around Tong Len. Is giving a little bit of an explanation with it, and discussing some of the issues around wisdom, karma, and bodhicitta, and so forth, that are, of course, not just related to it, but form the core of it as a practice. So without further ado, we can just get into it right now, starting with the Heart Sutra. Okay, homage to perfection, wisdom, the Blessed Mother. As I've heard, at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir, and mass altars bound together, a great assembly of monks and nuns, and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. That time the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. That time also Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly the prize of profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly also the 5 aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Then to the power Buddha Venerable Shariputra said of Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly also the 5 aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is none other than form, and form is also none other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Should I put it like this? All phenomena are emptiness, having no characteristics, nor produce, or do not cease. They have no defilement and no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there's no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, and no consciousness. There's no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There's no I element and so forth up to no mentality element, and also up to no element of mental consciousness. There's no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth up to no aging and death, no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there's no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there's no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on the abiding perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing out of beyond adversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all the Buddhas reside perfectly in the 3 times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifest, complete Buddhas in state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, equal and unequaled mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it's not false, should be known as the truth. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed, Tayatum Gata Gata Paragata Parasangati Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, bodhisattva, great beings should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration, said to Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, that he'd spoken well. Good, go to Chenmo, just like that. Since it's like that, just as you have revealed, in that way the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra, Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. So again, let's just take a moment to visualize ourselves seated in a wide open space, ground like lapis lazuli, and ourselves surrounded by all sentient beings. So we can feel that our mothers on our left, fathers on our right, the people we love most behind us, the people we like least in front of us. Again, both as support behind us and as objects of our compassion and care in front of us. And then moving up from there, all sentient beings, the 6 realms of cyclic existence. So we can think of people from all over the world, with this without exception. All different living beings from sort of the natural world here, the animal realm, so to speak, from birds and insects and mammals and so forth. countless spirit beings in the spirit world from all the different spirit planes and worlds, like the astral and ethereal realm and so forth. Celestial beings like asuras or demigods and gods from the different god realms. And countless beings in lower states of rebirth, the hungry ghost realms and different hell realms. Just feel that they're all here with us as well, and happy and excited to be here and meditate, all of us together, doing some spiritual Dharma work. And the sky above us, just simply we can visualize Shakyamuni Buddha. We can sort of have an idea that all holy beings are here with us, different Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, angelic beings, dakinis, arhats, different Dharma protectors and so forth, spirit guides, and everyone's here sort of in the space in the beautiful blue sky above us. But the central figure, bigger than the others, is Buddha Shakyamuni, fourth historical Buddha of this fortunate aeon, and he's in the way we usually visualize him. All these holy beings are light beings made out of energy. So he's a golden light or golden energy body, the way we usually see him, wearing 3 robes of a monk in lotus position, begging both medicinal nectar in his left hand, right hand, touching the earth with the subduing mudra. And then at his heart is his higher form of the divine couple, Vajradhara and Vajradhara. And they're in sexual embrace. He's cross-legged Vajra position. She's straddling him with her arms around his neck. And they wear crowns and jewelry and so forth. They have beautiful blue bodies, dark blue like sapphire. And he holds a bell in his left hand, Dorje scepter in his right. She's got a skull cut and medicinal nectar in her left hand, and curved cleaver chopping like rigu in her right hand. Looks like a beautiful summer sun, Buddha Shakyamuni in the sky here. And we'll just do some quick prayers, quick meditation before we start with our class here. Okay. And taking refuge, I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Bodhicitta, through the virtues I collect by giving other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Generating 4 measurables of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free from misery. May no one ever be separate from their happiness. May everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. Visualizing the purification mirror. In the space before me is the living Buddha Shakyamuni, surrounded by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas like the full moon surrounded by stars. There are the 7 moons. With my body, speech, and mind humbly I prostrate and make offerings both set out and imagine. I confess my wrong deeds from all time and rejoice in the virtues of all. Please stay until samsara ceases and turn the wheel of Dharma for us. I dedicate all virtues to great enlightenment. Offering the purified universe, the mandala at our hearts here, the ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers, the great mountain, 4 lands, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land and offered thus, may all beings enjoy such pure lands. I offer without any sense of loss the objects that give rise to my attachment, hatred, and confusion. My friends, enemies, strangers, our bodies, and all enjoyments, please accept these and bless me to be released directly from the 3 poisons. Send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. Zomadam Guru to me. Prayer the stages of the path. The path begins with strong reliance on my kind teacher, source of all good. Oh, bless you this understanding to follow with great devotion. This human life with all its freedoms, extremely rare with so much meaning. Oh, bless you this understanding all day and night to seize its essence. My body, like a water bubble, decays and dies so very quickly. After death come results of karma, just like the shadow of the body. With this firm knowledge and remembrance, bless me to be extremely cautious, always avoiding harmful actions and gathering abundant virtue. Samsara's pleasures are deceptive and give no contentment, only torment. So please bless me to strive sincerely to gain the bliss of perfect freedom. Oh, bless you so that from this pure thoughts come mindfulness and greatest caution to keep us by essential practice the doctrine's root, the parting moksha. Just like myself, all my kind mothers are drowning in samsara's ocean. Also, then we soon release them, bless me in training bodhicitta. But I cannot become a Buddha by this alone without three ethics. So bless me the strength to practice the Bodhisattva's ordination. By pacifying my distractions and analyzing perfect meanings, bless me to quickly gain the union of special insight on quiescence. When I become a pure container through common paths, bless me to enter the essence practice of good fortune, the supreme vehicle of Vajrayana. The two attainments both depend on my sacred vows and my commitments. Bless me to understand this clearly and keep it at the cost of my life. By constant practice in 4 sessions, the way explained by holy teachers will bless me to gain both the stages which are the essence of the tantras. May those who guide me on the good path and my companions all have long lives. Bless me to pacify completely all obstacles, outer and inner. May I always find perfect teachers and take delight in holy Dharma. Accomplish all grounds and pass swiftly and gain the state of Vajradhara. Now from the hearts of all holy beings, streams of light and nectar flow down, granting blessings and you can just feel just having sort of made these offerings and requests here. Golden lights and nectars are coming down from Buddha Shakyamuni and all holy beings, just like sunlight, bringing us up, sort of giving us spiritual power, bringing us up sort of a level here. Feel great joy and bliss. Just make our request here for the final dissolution. Buddha Shakyamuni, you are the synthesis of all, mind is synthesis of all Buddha jewels, speech is synthesis of all Dharma jewels, and body synthesis of all Sangha jewels. Please, my Guru, Lama, refuge and protector here. Lama, my Buddha, my deity, my Dakini, my protector, please grant us your blessings of body, speech, and mind. So we made that request. Just Buddha Shakyamuni starts to shine like the sun here. All the other holy beings start to melt into light and dissolve into him. And he starts to melt into light like a big sort of center flare going outwards and then going back inwards into his heart. It's just a divine couple, Vajradhara and Vajradhara, beautiful blue Buddhas in the sky, like a beautiful blue diamond or sapphire. And they come down to the crown of her head very, very slowly, just like a little shooting star, but slow motion here. Come to the crown of her head, turn around so they're facing same direction as us, and very, very slowly, like a leaf falling, enter our crown and descend in front of our spine into our heart. And once they do that in our heart, they just melt into light. And become one with us, right into our root mind, our heart, our soul, so to speak. Our mind and their mind become one. Our energy and their energy become one. And we feel great, great spaciousness, bliss, joy, and love. Just meditate for a moment on this here. Okay, so just coming out of meditation here. Maybe just bringing all that sort of, internalizing all that joy and bliss, spaciousness, love, peace. And bring that into your body. Okay. And now our little talk on Tong Len here. So again, going over it, you kind of have to watch if you're not too familiar with the previous video. But as a form, the Tong Len practice comes sort of at the is part of the they call mind transformation, thought transformation teachings of Lojong. And you find it in particular in teachings on developing bodhicitta by the great Buddhist saint, one of the 84 Mahasiddhas, Shantideva, in sort of a series of teachings called Equalizing Exchanging Self for Others. So how can we equalize and exchange ourselves? In other words, how can we get rid of our self-cherishing mind based on our self-grasping mind? That's the source of suffering for ourselves and all others. And being able to switch it over where rather than being completely concerned about ourselves, we're more concerned about other people. Of course, in a ground balanced way, not a codependent way, which is a form of self-cherishing, as we know. And so that's the idea that we can equalize ourselves, see that we're equal with all other sentient beings. Why? Because all of us are equal insofar as we all want to be happy and we don't want to suffer. We're all sort of looking for happiness in the world, and we're all trying to stay away from suffering. And as First Pancha Lama Losing Chok Yeltsin says in the Lama Chopa Guru Yoga ritual, so beautiful, he says that all of us, it's over there, I should get it, but anyway, the quote is something like, we're all the same. All of us want to be happy and don't want to suffer, but also there's a great line where it's all of us aren't satisfied with the happiness that we have. So not only are we want to be happy and don't want to suffer, but we're also perpetually dissatisfied and not happy with whatever little happiness we have in samsara. So we're all equal kind of on that existential spiritual level, even though there's this like almost an infinite diversity amongst sentient beings of everything else. So we are equal, and can we exchange ourselves with others? Well, we do all the time, even on a selfish level. It seems that we're so dualistic that we're so separated from others that we could never take the place of other people. Oh, I can't understand other people. We're different. You're standing over there. I'm here. But we do it all the times, like I always say, in a diluted way, constantly. Oh, that person's at the front of the line to whatever, get the last sandwich or something in the cafe. Oh, I wish I could be him. I really like that sandwich. It's my favorite one. Now it's gone. Or, oh, that person won the lottery. I wish I could be like that. Or, hey, like that person's being disciplined at work for the same mistake I made. Thank God I'm not that guy. Like we're always switching places with people. Even there's sort of more detailed philosophical, you could say in Western philosophy, there's more philosophical arguments on how this is the case. When you study Hegel, for instance, it's a huge thing where you see that other people themselves are the ones helping you self-actualize. That there has been that reciprocity of you and other people right from the beginning. You wouldn't be able to be who you are without what he calls recognition from other people, almost in a social context. Other people teach you how to think, teach you how to speak a language, feed you everything else. Everything you do around you is because of other people. Your self-reflection, how you see yourself in your own self projects. In other words, as you're going about your day, things are telling you who you are and what you're doing as you're on your way doing things, on doing your errands, running around, doing what you want to do. But that selfness is because of the otherness of other people and other people and other things involved in your self projects, helping you self-actualize. So the point is that reciprocity is happening at all times. And Emmanuel Levinas, one of my favorite philosophers, famous Jewish philosopher of the 20th century, he always said that you're almost kidnapped, which is his term. You can see that we call substitution in his philosophy, that we're always already on the hook for ethically taking care of other people. Because other people are helping you be who you are, there's this inner responsibility that was really flying in the face of your selfishness, where you're almost being sucked out of yourself into other people's lives, helping them. I love his stuff. Really big shout out if you ever want to read Totality and Infinity and Otherwise in Being, to his masterpieces that he wrote. He's a wonderful person and a wonderful philosopher. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Thing is that we can equalize and exchange ourselves with others. Now, Shantideva says, now you must equalize yourself and exchange yourself with others if you want to be happy and not want to suffer, which is the whole point. Us and all Sunnis want to do that. And why? It's the classic case. All the happiness in the world comes from a mind cherishing others. All the unhappiness or suffering in the world comes from mind cherishing itself. In other words, love is defined as cherishing others, wanting them to be happy, and self-cherishing love is putting yourself at first at the expense of all others. So the happiness of all the happiness of the world comes from one, and all the misery of the world comes from the other. It's because of caring for others that there's happiness in the world. It's because of being selfish and putting yourself before everyone else and sort of being in a struggle with everyone else that there's suffering or misery in the world. So that's why in equalization change with self with others, we have to make that switch. And then how is it that we do this switch? Well, it's through the meditation of Tong Len, or taking and giving. I visualize myself taking in all the sufferings of the world from sentient beings in the form of black smoke on my in-breath. It goes into my heart, where I visualize all my selfishness and suffering, my self-cherishing, my self-grasping, my attachment, all my sort of really negative, mean smallness, selfishness, this little, almost like a kernel or like a black diamond of negativity at my heart, this constricted selfishness. When those two things meet, sort of the black smoke and soot and bad energy of everyone's suffering meeting my selfishness, kapow, they say it's like a flash of light. Both things are canceled out, just like baking soda and vinegar, an acid and a base, or light and darkness, or whatever analogy you want to use. And those things are removed. And then from this spacious, luminous heart, we breathe out what all sentient beings need to make them happy, or loving kindness, or compassion, or blessing energy, or what have you. And this training is what is equalizing, exchanging self for others, creating good karma. And then what it ends up doing is it ends up producing bodhicitta, the awakening mind. Now, how is it that we sort of, bodhicitta comes in the sense of two aspects of bodhicitta, aspiring and engaging bodhicitta, conventional and ultimate bodhicitta. So, the conventional bodhicitta of having great compassion for all sentient beings, wanting them to be relieved of suffering, loving them, cherishing them, wanting them to be happy, and so wanting them to escape samsara, wanting them to be fully enlightened. And how's that possible? Well, I have to do that first, become a Buddha, solve my own issues and stuff, and then my whole purpose then is to help all sentient beings reach that same state. That's conventional bodhicitta. Ultimate bodhicitta is wisdom realizing emptiness. It's the wisdom that sees the selflessness, the absolute utter non-ontology or plasticity of all reality, that things are infinitely changeable and creatable, that this process is possible in the first place, that we can change things from something impure to something pure, that we can go from a samsaric state to sort of a holy state. Those two forms of bodhicitta, which you can see are interdependent, that ends up being the result of your Tong Len practice. So correct view of wisdom realizing emptiness from the three principal paths of renunciation, bodhicitta and wisdom realizing emptiness, that are present in Tong Len. Let's talk a little bit more about the correct view of wisdom realizing emptiness here with Tong Len. Okay, so the question is, it comes into Tong Len when you ask how this really works. How do you really take away pain and give happiness? So, of course, this is the question you get into. I mean, there's so much here. I hope I have enough time today to talk about it. But we'll see, because what you get is we're all just sitting in a circle at a temple doing this meditation. The question is, does it really work? And the obvious question is, well, okay, if I'm taking away all suffering in the world, how come the moment I leave the temple, I turn on the news or look outside and where everything seems to be just as shitty as when I left it? Is this going to work? Like if someone's in the hospital hospital, a loved one dying of cancer, and I sit there and do Tong Len for them, will the cancer go away? This is the good question. Of course, the answer is sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Just like suffering in the world decreases out, you see it decrease a little bit after meditation, or sometimes it doesn't. So this is a bigger question: is how can this work? How does this work? Clearly, it can't work in a very obvious, coarse way of that you just think about it and everything goes away. Why? Because if that was the case, you'd only ever have to do it once and we'd all be enlightened. And then the deeper thing is, you can see, well, if this was the case, and technically Buddha would have done it when he got enlightened, or Jesus or Lao Tzu, or all these great masters and holy beings of the past, if they were doing similar meditations, if they could take away your suffering, and these beings are beings of great love and compassion, well, they would have already done it. So the very fact is we're sitting here in Samsara doing Tong Len together means that can't possibly work that way. It's not that simple. It's not a one-to-one correlate. Otherwise, we wouldn't, things wouldn't look the way they are. Obviously, what's interesting. So how we get sort of going, how we sort of having a deeper understanding of emptiness and Tong Len here. So there's one thing I have here is usually when we're caring for people, doing compassion, trying to help them, says we decide how many people to care for, you or yours, or what's included in the decision. So usually when we're caring for people on a worldly level, there's always self-interest in mind. There's always self-cherishing. Usually when we're caring for people, like I remember Chenmo Rinpoche telling us this, that before you give to people, usually your ego's coming in to evaluate it and judge it. Does this person deserve it? Will this be helpful? Do I like this person? Do I think they're worthy of my compassion or care or generosity or charity or whatever else? It's a classic thing of, let's say you judge a homeless person. Oh, I don't have enough money. I want to buy a Frappuccino. And if I give this person this, maybe I'll give it to them tomorrow. They don't deserve it. Or maybe, oh, if I give this to them, they're just going to spend it on drugs. It's a waste of my money, I'm making them a worse person. So the point is, whatever those reasonings you have in there, they're always sort of stained by your own self-interest and self-cherishing. You don't know that person. You don't know any of the situation. How can you make these big ironclad absolute judgments about another person's life, or what's going to happen to them when you give it? How do you know the outcome of those things? You don't. So Tong Len, when you're looking, is working in a deeper place where it's just about generating bodhicitta, or cherishing others, with the big idea of bringing all sentient beings to enlightenment. So you don't have that sort of attitude. It's completely cherishing others on a deeper understanding of emptiness. It doesn't have the self-cherishing judgments involved. So I was talking to one of my close friends, Alyssa, yesterday, one of my teachers and dear friends, and we were talking about this exactly because we both do Reiki, and she's my Reiki teacher. And I said to be a Reiki teacher years ago as well, and I love it very, very much. But it's a question you get there is with any healing modality, if you do, it is, and as the old adage says, the old English saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The issue is, should I ask, do I need to ask permission before I send distance Reiki to someone to do healing? Should I ask permission? So this is a question you get with a lot of healing modalities. And again, it's a good question. I think it's a very ethical question you can ask. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, sometimes it can betray this kind of attitude, whereas I'm the healer, I'm the magic person, I have the magic mojo. This person, separate from me, has their own issues of suffering. I'm going to do my healing meditation or magic to heal them and to fix them. They need fixing, for them. I don't need fixing, I'm enlightened or whatever. I'm doing you the favor, whatever. There's all this kind of ego stuff coming in. Sometimes you can have this with yourself. And it's the question of, I think it's good to sort of say, ask permission, because it is the way of, like, it's not having an agenda with somebody. So that's good. But also it's based on a deeper idea, deeper dualism. There's a difference between you and me and the other person. Now, again, I'm not sort of arguing for some sort of blanket thing where, oh, you don't ever have to ask permission, just do it from your heart or whatever, it'll always be good. Because of course, again, road to hell is paved with good intentions. there's all sorts of unconscious motivators that you have and self-cherishing that can get in the way to this, where you actually think you're being helpful or compassionate, when really you're just have, sort of indulging your own issues or messiah complex, right? Healer complex. But having this idea where you just give and taking and giving love, compassion, blessing energy without an agenda. You do it for all sentient beings without exception, that all sentient beings get enlightened, sort of liberate themselves. This is something that sentient beings, all of them without exception, will be doing anyway. We're already in this process of education, self-liberation, self-education anyway. So you're not actually giving or taking anything from people that they don't already, that you're not sort of having an agenda to try and convert them, put them into a process that they might not want to be in or they're not in anyway. We're all in this together already on this deep spiritual ethical level, right? It's just you're sharing from this completely different space. And again, you don't have, I guess this is the idea, an attachment to the outcome. So my teacher, Dorothy Ramenkag, Dorothy Ram, who's my Chinat therapeutic Qigong teacher, taught me years ago something I've always remembered, whereas she said there's a difference between healing and curing. They go together, they're related, but they're not the same thing. So curing is where you have a condition, an illness, sickness, whatever, problems, and it gets fixed. There's a medicine, some kind of intervention, and the problem goes away, it gets solved. I have cancer, I get chemotherapy, there's no more cancer, I'm cancer free. Right, that's the idea of curing. Healing's something different. Healing's becoming whole with all the sort of scattered or disassociated or broken parts of yourself come together. So there's a sense of things coming home. It's like a soul retrieval in a lot of ways. You getting yourself back, you getting your power back, you finding your own power, you discovering things about yourself. So it's a far more subtle spiritual process. So what's happening is that when, let's say, you have issues or are sick and you do healing or people do healing for you, again, you can be healed by that process and you can be cured. In other words, I have cancer, I'm angry, I'm scared, I'm anxious, all these things. I do healing work, people do healing work for me, I do healing work with them, this and that, and all of a sudden I have healing. I no longer have those negative minds. I have a attitude of gratitude, a mind of acceptance. I have more love, more forgiveness in my life, more contentment, more peace in my life. I see this. I could say that I've been healed. And then let's say this same process, the cancer goes away as well. Well, now I've been cured too. They're sort of parallel tracks in a lot of ways. They had the karmas related, and they're interrelated that way, but they're not the same thing. Even logically, they're not the same thing, because you can be healed and not be cured. In other words, I can still die the cancer even though I've been healed, and die with a wonderful, peaceful death where I forgive everybody. I have absolute gratitude. I wouldn't change anything in my life, this kind of thing, right? So you can be healed and cured. You can be healed and not cured. And you can not be healed, not be cured. In other words, healing doesn't work. My self-cherishing, my negative minds are still there. It sort of didn't catch, and I didn't get cured, and so I die in my illness or condition. Or I can be cured but not healed. In other words, I get the right medicine and no longer have the illness or conditions or problems. But again, I haven't done the personal work. I haven't learned. I haven't grown spiritually. I'm the same person. In recovery, they talk about that, where you can be, quote unquote, a dry drunk, in the sense that you've stopped using the substance like alcohol or narcotics or whatever, the addictive substance. You've stopped using, but technically you haven't gotten over the issues that have led you to start substance abuse in the first place, and you haven't sort of healed any of your issues around it. Maybe you're just as reckless and irresponsible and unethical person as you were when you were drinking or when you were using. So you've stopped using, but you're still a really crappy, unethical person. So you can see it's the same thing, is that you might not be cured, but you might be cured but not healed. So you can see these kinds of issues you have when you're doing healing work, even on yourself, with compassion here of sort of the Tong Len methodology. Okay, just so what we're doing here, I'm just looking here to talk a little bit about this. My notes are on this one are a little bit mixed up here, so I have to read a little bit harder here. So it's interesting. It says, so Tong Len doesn't instantly work because nothing does. How does Tong Len work? Dharma Vajra, one of the great Gelugpa Lamas, called it active truth, the power of doing the right thing. So this is the emptiest way, not the self-existence way, which doesn't work. So basically, it's you're doing the action of something like Tong Len because it's right, not because you're expecting immediate results. Doing the right thing only produces good results, no matter short time perceived results which aren't connected. I don't care what others think or do, because it can only have positive results. We do the right thing all the time and be fearless and trust in the karma. The issue is, what's right, but we're afraid of doing this because it will cut into our selfishness. Okay. So what comes first, cause or effect? It's a bad question. Both are beginningless. So basically, Lojong is this machine, or Tong Len is the machine that builds bodhicitta, because it ends up really creating an awareness of how karma works. So with classes we've done together on karma and diamond cutter, we see that like produces like, that once we create the cause for something, it will ripen, because you don't get causes without effects. You don't get effects without causes, and causes, the effect increases over time. The effect is greater than what's been produced. Like a seed, you end up getting sort of an emergent result where the sum or whole is greater than the sum of the parts, so to speak. And so what we do here with Tong Len, really, because it's such a wide, amazing, and spiritual practice that we're doing with big results, in the sense that we're taking, a lot of times we're just taking it for doing Tong Len for an individual person, but a lot of times we're doing it for all sentient beings. So what we're doing was we're planting the seeds for our own enlightenment, our own peer view, which leads to the enlightenment of all sentient beings as well. Once I'm enlightened, all I will do is teach all sentient beings to do the same thing. So my Tong Len practice that I do, I have to have that faith in the karma, understanding how karma and emptiness are the same thing, that because things are connected through causality, causes and their effects, and everything's interrelated, necessarily it's empty or doesn't have self-existence. Things are never outside a relationship, a causal relationship. They're all interrelated that way, and so they're empty, so they're infinitely flexible. Whatever I create the cause for, it will end up producing the result. But again, it takes time. Like planting seeds in a garden, I have to cultivate this thing. I have to wait. And so all I have to do is have, like Dharma Vajra said, that kind of truth power, where by doing this, I know that in the future, these seeds will ripen, that in the end, in the big sort of bigger view, I will get enlightened practicing this good kind of karma, because it's based on an understanding of karma and emptiness. It's based on a true view. It's based sort of on an understanding of perfection of wisdom, that with a mind of compassion, bodhicitta, enacting these visualizations, doing these kinds of work, will necessarily have pure results. It won't just purify my own mind, purify my own vision, purify my own worldview of how I see things, but even on a practical level, my day-to-day basis, acting from this place, I will have a pure result. Taking and giving will be something that I do, that my heart's more and more open, more and more attentive, more caring, more responsible to everyone around me, which creates further good karma. It's healing for everyone around me, and then allows me to, again, purify my mind and get closer to enlightenment. Once I'm a Buddha, all I do is teach this kind of stuff and help people in the same way. That Tong Len is beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. That's all I'm doing anyway, even as a Buddha. I'm teaching the same kinds of compassion and loving kindness meditations that allow everyone through karma to reach that same place of full awakening. So that's where it says views beget views. Ironically, the more I think this way and act out of this way, the more it strengthens or it creates a world where this confirms my viewpoint, right? And it's like I said here, it's like a medicine to the mental karmas of jealousy, judging, covetousness. So, the three mental karmas of malice, covetousness, and wrong view. These end up being purified by my practice of Tong Len, by my practice of taking giving with an understanding of karma and emptiness here. So again, we just do what's right here. We trust the process, trust the karma, trust this whole understanding of emptiness, that in the big picture, with time, Tong Len will start to purify my world. And because of it, purify how things appear to me. And this ends up, again, creating love and compassion in the world and purifying suffering. In a lot of ways, thinking is the source of all this karma one way or another. And again, remember, it's, and again, I have here, which is interesting. I said, this is the way to go to the Pure Land. You can teach others, again, how to go to the Pure Land through this meditation. You can see it. But what's interesting is that this is the way of really creating happiness in our lives and eliminating the suffering in our lives, the two things that we want. Whereas normally our normal way of Tong Len, of taking and giving, is quite the opposite. It's me, me, me. So I'm always trying to suck everything to me and again, push everyone that's an obstacle out of the way, or sort of it's sort of the Kantian thing of, not to use people, not to use people as means, but to see them as ends. In other words, having ends, or to be a center of the universe like I am myself. So the Kantian ethical failure is always to use people as means to my own ends. So my normal worldly way of taking and giving is precisely that, is to always be using people as a mean for my own self-actualization in the world, right? Whereas Tong Len, it's quite the other way around, as I'm seeing, Kant calls it the kingdom of ends, where we see all one another as having ends, as being our own person that has ends, our own center of the universe, our own sort of ethical center. And so Tong Len's based on that. Like in a lot of ways, by having bodhicitta and wanting all sentient beings to self-liberate through my behavior and self-liberating myself through this behavior, I see everyone as an end. Everyone as creating themselves as their own ends, in a completely wise way rather than a deluded way. So I think that's and that's where sort of the holy ethical attitude comes here from Tong Len. Okay? I have one little thing here that I think that's great, where Geshe said, you can't give your karma or take away karma because you are your karma. You are the result of your past karma. Of course, again, everything is karma in the sense that everything is a projection of your mind. And so we can't, it's not like we are self-existent selves that possess karmic energy, like a possession, like something I'm holding in my hand here. Everything is just the projection mind of karma. And so how do we change the karma, take karma away? Well, by changing our minds, right? How do we change our minds? Well, exactly through a process like Tong Len. Okay. And let me just see here. Yeah, like this, where it says the main activity of the Buddha is, their only activity is teaching. It's the only way you can help. And so that's basically what we will do. Is the best thing you can do is teach something like Tong Len to other people, to teach yourself this, to teach others. And that when a Buddha, when you become enlightened, you'll be teaching the same kinds of things. And this is how beings, like I've said, self-liberate, how we all get out of samsara, one at a time, but all together. Emma Goldman was a very famous anarcho-communist and proto-feminist turn of the 20th century, one of the great anarchist writers and activists. And she had a great quote for someone who did, she traveled all over the world, came from Ashkenazi Jewish, very, very modest, very poor roots in Russia. And, spent her whole life fighting for social justice issues and doing all sorts of amazing things and really at the forefront of sort of workers' revolution, socialist revolution. So someone who spent their whole life living in their actions, living in their deeds. She said something, I can't remember the book she said or the interview, but she said, at the end of the day, all you can do is educate people. That you can run around trying to change the world, take away people's suffering, be running around acting, talking, but in the end, people have to liberate themselves. And this is the ultimate libertarian or anarchist point of view, being one myself, that my own sort of political sensibilities there. But in my political sensibilities, I really try and have come from this idea of karma and emptiness, but that's another story, maybe another class one day. But she said, you can just educate people. That's all you can. In the end, that's all anybody can do, is just educate people. And people, you have to most of all educate people how to self-educate, teach them how to teach themselves, and then people themselves will find a way out of the things. That you have to support people in their own self-education and self-liberation. So she said this, and that's just kind of an amazing thing. It's almost like at the end of his life, Napoleon, it might have been when he was in prison there in Alba. I'm trying to remember when it was, but he said, at kind of like at the end of your life, when you're older, you see the futility, not just the senselessness, but also how the uselessness, I guess you could say, of trying to solve things in the world by force. It's quite interesting. He was like almost like a Western antichrist. Like Napoleon changed the world. Like we talk about great men in history. That someone was like almost like a demigod or asura here in the world that completely turned Western society and Western culture and Western history on its head. One guy, it's amazing. And he did it all through his own actions, his own power and his own force, through violence, through war and everything else. It's interesting. This is what, anyway, this is just an aside, but just to tell you about self-liberation is that when Hegel was writing Phenomena of Spirit, his great philosophy book, he said, I'm finishing this book in 1806 when Napoleon is invading Germany. Well, it wasn't Germany at the time. It's all the different German states, the Battle of Jena and so forth. And he said, the fact that this is happening shows the truth of my philosophy. So what he said is that, in the 19th century, Hegel's like Western philosophy has reached this point, this emancipatory point through Kant's categorical empirical evidence of treating people as ends not means. So we've come to see now at this point in Western history that that the only value we have is the practical value of Christian morality, of self-liberating ourselves through treating other people as ends of themselves, as being equal with loving everyone as my neighbor. And this has to be done without a religious argument. It has to be done in a practical argument that we can even see through our history. This is what's left us. This is the way we solve our problems. This is the conclusion we reach as sort of the end of Western culture. And it's interesting. And Hegel said that's in the symbol of Napoleon when he becomes Emperor of France. And the Pope is going to give him the crown, showing that the church or God is making you emperor here and blessing or sanctifying your regime. And he grabs the crown from the Pope and crowns himself, which is, I don't need the Pope, I don't need God, anything, I'm crowning myself. And so Hegel says there's a truth in that, in the sense that we can't rely on anything outside of ourselves to liberate ourselves. We can't rely on anything. In other words, like Hegel says, like, because he's a good Lutheran, like Christ dying on the cross, God has died. So what that's left is the Christian community to embody the message of Christ. That we, as Western Christians, have to enact in our day-to-day lives Christ's message of treating others as equal as ourselves. That's our self-liberation, and nobody can do it for us. We have to do it ourselves every day of our lives. Hence the categorical imperative. So anyway, where I'm going with this, same kind of thing. Tong Len is all what Buddhists can do is teach us and inspire us, give us blessings. Two things that Buddhists do: shine the light of blessings, give us power, inspiration, ready to go. I have all this energy to be a good person. And what am I going to do as the lesson? I am going to practice Tong Len. I'm going to practice equalizing and exchanging self with others to generate bodhicitta, to get enlightened, to teach all sentient beings how to do exactly the same thing. So this is why Tong Len in the end is the highest practice of Prajnaparamita or the Heart Sutra or Wisdom Realizing Emptiness. It's not a dummy practice. It's not like a cute, like little just healing practice I do to make myself feel better. If you understand how it really works, it is the most subtle, most beautiful, sublime practice you could do. There's only that, in the end. And then it's interesting, just quickly, just having that trust. Like I've here, the question is not how to help people, but where do people come from? Well, just seeing that everything is created from when everything is created through karma, and to see that Tong Len plants the proper seeds, creates the good karma of just opening your heart this way. And by bringing everything on the breath, using the prana, bringing everything into your heart, you're opening your heart chakra, releasing all this subtle mind, all this subtle energy for further spiritual work of this cherishing of others. So it's very, very beautiful. And just to, I have one last, and I just want to finish up here. It says here, every action you do is because we're doing it because it's right. We're understanding of karma, and that it's true because it's, again, we're trusting our karma. This is why you do things. Why this is hard to be a Buddhist is because it seems that it doesn't work. And so we give up. Well, of course, we're trying everything and things don't seem to be getting better. So whatever. But that's, again, like I would say, there's a great quote from Ihe Dogen, founder of the Soto tradition of Zen, where he says, it always looks, the Christian mystery of evil, that evil people get away with it, enjoy themselves, and good people just get trouble in life. So why be a Christian, right? And so Ihe Dogen always says, well, it seems like karma doesn't work because, again, bad people get away with everything. Good people that go to the temple all the time still have all these terrible things that happen to them, whatever. And then, great line from Ihe Dogen, master Buddhist saint, as he says, that's because you're not looking close enough. That's because you're not looking close enough. So on a very superficial level, it looks that way. But when you get really, really close, you see how bad people with bad karma and create bad karma suffer a lot. And good people, even if bad things are happening to them, have an inner happiness and inner peace and joy in their lives. And that goodness in this very cosmically large process is gradually winning out as all sentient beings are gradually moving towards the process, the end point of self-liberation from samsara. So we just have to trust that, and that what we see here is everything we're doing with Tong Len is planting seeds. We're creating causes. It's not results, it's causes we're doing, which will ripen into results. So what we're seeing here as the proof in our experience is actually a result from previous karma, ripened already. So they're not related. The stuff that we're putting out there is going to come back to us in a near future. So you can't, this is one of my favorite philosophers, Spinoza, said the problem is that everyone takes themselves as a cause when really the result. Everything around you is a result, not a cause. And so people are always getting upset and confused. And he's like, he always says, because you have it asked backwards. What matters is how you're reacting to the results. That's the creative part of it. But the point is, everything around you is a result. It's not like you just put it there. It's come to you. So he has that great line where he says, don't rage, don't cry, understand. Don't rage, don't cry, understand. In other words, understand the necessity of how things are activated and created as a result, accept that, react, like respond to it. That's where you find your inner freedom. And it's the same thing here with Tong. That's, of course, Spinoza, but this is a similar thing here with Tong Len here. So we just have to trust in the karma and do this because it's right. It's an act of truth, an act of good karma, and with this beautiful view we have of Prajnaparamita when we do Tong Len here. And it says, the proof is in the pudding. Keep your vows, keep this going and see what happens. See how that over time, things start to become more pure, more beautiful, more happiness in your life as you're doing Tong Len, and more holy. And that's it. So again, the only question is, what is your worldview? Without it, you're not a Buddhist. So this is the worldview we need to have to get in. And again, this is the same worldview that we have for the basis of Tantra. Okay, the idea that we can change our whole world and make it into a Buddha paradise by having this kind of an attitude. Okay, that's enough. I think I've gone on enough here. And thank you so much for coming. And listen, this we'll just have a question and answer now on these ideas. And then that's the end of the course. And actually, I will just take even just a few moments just to end. So we don't just leave it. Let's just take a few moments here up to it. So just to sort of end it almost like a dedication, we can again see ourselves in front of all sentient beings, samsara. Again, some in particular that might need a little bit more help or that you might want to do this for them in particular. And again, aligning all this, having bodhicitta as our intention here, and aligning all this with our breath. And we can feel as we're breathing in, we're sort of sucking out all the true sufferings, the samsaric sufferings of the sentient beings in front of us. That's black smoke or soot or bad energy. And as we inhale it into our hearts, again at our hearts as this sort of black piece of coal or sort of like a marble or black diamond of all of our suffering based on our self grasping and self cherishing, our I or ego, sort of the fictitious self, the selfish self, the mean, small, egotistical self. And as that black smoke or soot hits it, they sort of go together, they cancel themselves out in a flash of light. And from this luminous heart now of goodness or cherishing others, we can exhale out light, blessing light. Again, sending out love, compassion, healing, all sentient beings. Most of all, even bodhicitta, that we all develop bodhicitta to begin in moment. Okay. Continued here. We just dedicate this by the blessings of all holy beings, truth of karma, and causes and their effects, the power of pure spirit intention of bodhicitta, and all our dharma wishes be fulfilled, and all sentient beings reach full weight. Okay, so thank you, and we'll see you next time.